Hi guys, it's Danny. Alrighty, today we're gonna discuss about how some slight changes in your environment can affect orchids for the bad, but also for the good. And I have some examples to show you. There are some things happening this year due to my particular autumn that didn't happen last year. So this year we had a pretty mild autumn. It was very sunny, thus kind of warm in my balcony, and my orchids were affected in a positive way. So here we have a Brassavola orchid, which is in full bloom, but it is December actually, and I live in a temperate climate. Usually in December, things are pretty gloomy for me. However, this year I had quite a lot of days with a lot of sun, and this actually influenced this sun-loving orchid to produce blooms and to have a full bloom in December for me. Usually the bloom time for this orchid should be summer. Now, in a climate which naturally is warmer and sunnier, blooming can happen throughout the year, I presume. But because my autumn was just so warm and sunny this year, this orchid actually produced a multitude of blooms. And actually, I think this is the main cause why I have this display this year. I bet if I had a gloomier time, a gloomier autumn, this wouldn't have happened. Now remember, I was telling you that Vanda orchids do not really do anything in the winter time for me, and usually this is the case, but this year I had a few surprises. So here we have the second blooming of the Rhynchorida's Bangkok Sunset, but I already knew this one bloomed 2 times a year for me. Also, I have the Vanda Pachara Delight here, which also blooms 2 times a year for me. But this year I am already seeing, and hopefully I can show you, I'm seeing another flower spike developing right here. So this would be the 3rd blooming of this orchid for this year. This doesn't usually happen in my climate, although this orchid can actually bloom 3 times a year. I don't know if more, could be, but in different environments. In my environment, in the winter time, starting autumn time, this doesn't usually happen. But because of the change in climate this year for me, this orchid actually is blooming 3 times. So again, here's a positive thing that environmental changes can induce into orchids. Now, this is pretty much the case with all of my orchids. They have a rapid growth, even though daytime is not as long, but they do kind of resemble summertime for me, and many of them display growth that only happens in the summertime for me. Now, last year I had the bad luck to have, I think, a record of days without sun. I had 32 or 33 days without any bit of sun, and that actually took a toll on my orchids. I usually don't use artificial light because I don't need it. I have a pretty balanced winter, although it's kind of gloomy, but my orchids seem to be okay. Last year, on the other hand, they were really not happy. This year is totally different. So you know how I always tell you guys that your environment can actually influence how your orchid grows, how it blooms, when it blooms, and so on. But it's not only the average climate that you have, it's also the particularities of that specific year. Now, these particularities not only affect the way an orchid behaves, but it also affects the way you should care for it. Now, because I had pretty warm temperatures in my balcony due to the fact that I had a lot of sun, I actually needed to water more frequent than I usually do during this time of year. So in your case, it might happen the same. Or if you have very cold weather, you might actually bring in the heater earlier than you usually do. This again will influence how you care for your orchid, specifically how you water your orchid. Of course, you can go the easy way and just water your orchids once a week, but really I'm not sure about the results. And I have to say that all of this combined, the slight variations in my climate and me adjusting to these variations, actually led to a pretty nice display of blooms this year. I might mention here the Signotus Wine Delight, of course the Brassavola Little Stars, and now the Tolumnias, which are actually spiking and starting to bloom as well. These are all pretty much sun-loving plants. Now, due to the fact that I had a lot of sun, which helped them, I actually changed my watering routine for them. For example, the Signotus Wine Delight should have been in dormancy. I think last year he was already dormant during this time, but this year he kind of prolonged his blooming time and is really not dormant just yet. He might go dormant after these flower spikes are done with, but pretty much I needed to really adjust the care that I gave to this guy because of my climate, and I think I did a good job. I'm pretty proud of the blooms he has this year. He doesn't look sick, he doesn't look rotting in any way, even if many books say that this time of year you should not water your Cycnotus or Catasetum type orchid. Well, there you go. This was an extraordinary case that happened this year, but it just goes to show that theory is not always the same as practice. You kind of need to adapt it. I will actually make a video about theory and practice at some point. I'm planning it for some time now. But anyway, this was the video for today. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you found this useful. I'm actually a strong believer in adaptation when it comes to growing live things. Not everybody will act the same, not everything will be the same year after year, and you kind of need to adapt if you want to have some good results. But in the end, that's the beauty of things. You can never get bored because things will always be different. Alrighty, so if you've enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and a share, subscribe to my channel for daily orchid videos, and also feel free to leave me questions, suggestions, or other thoughts you might have on orchids in the comment section below. If you click on the left side of your screen, you'll be directed to orchidnature.com, where you will find care sheets, identification sheets, and also you can talk to us in the forum section. And on the right side of your screen, you can click to watch another orchid video. Thank you for joining. I'll see you next time. Bye!